Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Skyz has revealed he will be pulling out all the stops to help OpTic Texas over the line this upcoming weekend in Dallas, saying he's going to do everything it takes to get the chemistry back on point to put this team where they need to be. The power rankings, of course, some controversy last night as well. Where should OpTic stand? Of course, with their old roster, it wasn't looking good. With Skyz, many people expect that surely they can't get any worse. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Firstly, here from Kremp. You guys may know that he won his most recent race at the Circuit of the Americas. It's actually months though until he races again. I think he's got some other plans between now and then. But yeah, as he says, Mid-Ohio can't come soon enough. I know that I think Puckett was in the reply saying that he wanted to go. Yeah, here you go. Anyway, June 6th to the 8th, this is where it is. If you guys are local and you want to see Kremp race, those are the dates just to keep in mind. This is interesting too. The World Cup we saw confirmed a couple of days ago when it's going to be for Call of Duty. Slightly earlier, of course, than last year, actually in the end of July this year rather than the middle of August. But yeah, the World Cup teams have been confirmed, the club partners as they describe them as, which are effectively the teams that compete for the championship and all the money that's on the line there. Falcons, of course, won it last year because they competed in everything. Now, you know, you're not going to win this if you don't have teams in loads of different esports, and you may not be included if you don't have teams in loads of different esports. That's kind of why OpTic aren't here, I would say. Maybe OpTic could even get into this if they wanted to, but it's more like there isn't really like so much of a point, I guess, when you've got Call of Duty, you've got Halo, and many of these other organisations are competing in many more esports than that. Doesn't mean that OpTic won't be at the World Cup. They will be, presumably, if everything goes to plan as it did last year, because they'll be invited for the Call of Duty tournament. But yeah, so the FaZe team will potentially represent FaZe Clan. Of course, New York will represent Cloud9, and the points, and obviously 100T. And there are some notable teams here from the Call of Duty side, as there were last year as well. And obviously KOI, that's part of like the Toronto family as well. So lots going on there, of course. The winners as well, notably, of the Challengers event at Major 4, they qualify automatically for the World Cup because it's going to be the 12 CDL teams and 4 more Challengers teams. iLLeY, of course, wants to be one of those teams, and he says that there's LAN in 2 days, time to hack again, he says, and trying to, you know, let's say, harness the Jimbo within. But, of course, he's going to be back in just a couple of days here in Dallas, playing what is a massive tournament, really, in the context of Challengers, because whoever wins this tourney, presumably there will be teams after this event that decide this is the time to blow it up. Second major of the year. If your World Championship qualification is looking sketchy at best, this is the time to blow it up, and the team that wins Challengers will put themselves in pole position to secure those CDL spots when they go around, especially if it's true that Falcons are looking to blow it up. There was some rumours on that the other day, especially with Luty gone, Clayster now becoming the head coach, them tweeting about XNID but nobody else. There's been a theory that maybe after the event, XNID could stay. They might look to bring Kicks back if they can from Saudi Arabia, but if they can't, they will, you know, look to get, I don't know, Hook, Fellow, like, because apart from Skyz, Hook and Fellow right now, at this present moment, are probably the two most attractive players from Challengers that OpTic might otherwise have got if they wanted to. So, if you're OpTic, or if you're another team, let's say Falcons, after the major, and you're looking to make a move, those would right now be the guys to look at, but after this upcoming tournament, it may be somebody else. What if iLLeY turns up to Dallas, drops a 1.4, wins the MVP, dominates the Challengers tournament? Then that changes the game quite considerably, although I will say, probably rather unlikely based on recent evidence. Pretty crazy to note as well, actually, that Atlanta FaZe are looking to be the first team in a very long time to actually pull off a three-peat. Now, kind of, what was it, Drazah said they already did the three-peat because they won the minor or something, but of course they also didn't win K-Sun's tournament, so if you're going to say that the minor counts, which it doesn't really, but like let's say you did, and therefore FaZe are saying, oh, we three-peated, we won EWC Major 1 and the minor between them, doesn't really work because K-Sun's tournament had 50k on the line, and I know there was only like 4 teams there, but if the minor counts, then K-Sun's tournament counts. So, as far as I'm concerned, FaZe are not on a three-peat. They can achieve it, though, with the win at Major 2. And it's been such a long time since this has actually happened. The Dynasty did it a couple of times back in the day, but I don't even think they did it in Infinite Warfare when they won the World Championship that year. I think they did it in Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare before then. But the last time it's happened was Simp and aBeZy winning the final 2 events of BO4 and then the Atlanta event in 2020, which I guess kind of counts, but the 2020 season was kind of strange because the first event was the Minnesota launch weekend where there wasn't really a champion to be crowned, it's just they played a couple of series. But, you know, they went to an event weekend and didn't win, so, you know, because there was no winner. I don't know, kind of confusing, really. Just the point really stands that it's incredibly difficult to do this. Winning 3 events in a row in competitive COD history has very rarely, if ever, well, it has obviously happened, but it's not happened often at all, and there's not many players that have even come close to managing this championship potential. Cellium is going for his 11th major, which would surpass Kenny and Octane, and look, if Thieves get upset, FaZe are always going to be there, but Thieves are going in as the favourite after their incredible run in the qualifiers to this moment. Let's talk about Skyz and the OpTic team that's now been confirmed. Pretty cool, of course, that he did team with Formal. You guys probably remember on Luminosity back in BO4. Now is teaming with Dashy. There's not many players that have actually teamed with both Formal and Dashy. This is the list. And a pretty cool list at that, I'm not going to lie. So, Scump and Kremp, obviously, Karma is there as well. Team with them, of course, in many an occasion, but certainly during the BO4 season when these guys all teamed with Dashy, and Scump was more recently than that. JCap as well, teamed with Formal back in the day, and then on Dashy or with Dashy during the OGLA days in 2020. Envoy, of course, has done so at the same time with the Cold War team, now Skyz, and then Doug Sensor Martin also into the mix, of course, playing with Formal when he first came into the scene, you know, way back in the Ghost days, and then Dashy played with in World War II, of course, on that Complexity roster at that time, so, you know, pretty funny to think about Doug getting into the mix here. These power rankings, though, that the team put together last night have caused some controversy as to whether this is fair or not. Intrigued to your perspective in the comments section below. This is how things currently look in terms of the power rankings that we have put together. They are still very difficult to do right now, but I think the guys have done a pretty reasonable job based on the evidence we currently have. Now, you can always look at power rankings. First of all, it's like, okay, who's better than which other team? But there is also an argument to say you should order this based on who has the best chance to win the event or something to that effect. I'm not sure that's really how you should do it, but it is a way that you can do it. Because in that case, OpTic, despite their horrific recent performances, likely have to be significantly higher because, you know, who has a better chance to win the event? Is it OpTic or Boston? You know, I think it's quite clear what the answer there is. But then again, that's always going to err on the side of giving players with more experience in championships a higher rating in the power rankings, even if it's not necessarily fair. But regardless, Thieves are now number 1, FaZe are number 2, both S-tier teams, you know, 7-0, 6-1 respectively in the qualifiers. If they're not the 2 teams in the grand finals, I will be somewhat surprised, I think, based on the way that this has currently gone. Ravens are 3rd. Absolutely justifiable. They've done incredibly well to be and to stay there at this point. I think Surge, they were on a real tear and then it slowed down just a tad. So them staying at 4th I think is fair until proven otherwise this upcoming event. Toronto making some strides as well up to the B tier. I mean, just in the B tier in general, but, you know, overtaking Minnesota Rocker. I think that's probably fair as well. Rocker have dropped down the pecking order somewhat lately with only Estriel really turning up over the last few series. And then C9 as well, breaking into the top 6, which I think is justified, but both Toronto and Cloud9 still massively confuse me. I think both of these teams are capable of upsetting even the real top teams, but they haven't yet properly been able to put together that consistency factor, which is going to be a serious difference maker. So Rocker are down to 7th, Heretics down in 8th, which, you know, is interesting for them to be here because, of course, they were 3rd at Madrid's Major 1, but since then, I think they went, 2-5 in the qualifiers. It's not been great at all, frankly, and their record this season, without the great run at Major 3, they would be in serious peril, and to be fair, they still kind of are. But they're in 8th, Boston down in 9th, which, look, they've played a lot of good teams, but I think that's justified. They've not really impressed me, and OpTic do stay ahead of Gorillas and Falcons based on their recent victory. So, yeah, this is how we have it. Intrigued to your thoughts on what you may or may not change, but also if you're going to order it by who has the most likelihood to win the events, then, you know, OpTic probably get a little bit higher. And, I mean, it's interesting, like, does Surge get higher? Because their respawn is really good. Ravens, I wouldn't say you can ever count them out entirely because their search and destroy is still so solid. And that's the point, that the teams that tend to win upset events are the teams that go on a phenomenal run in their search and destroy. Ravens are, of all the teams, probably the most likely team to put together a run like that. but Surge maybe have a little bit more firepower in terms of, you know, the ability to get over the line against even some of the top teams in the respawns, as we have seen with Surge against FaZe. When we have seen Ravens versus Thieves, it's not been especially pretty, has it? Now, OpTic, of course, they need to turn things around quickly. I think they will turn things around to some extent. I mean, if they can't be any worse, I think that's the bottom line. And I think they should be better, possibly quite considerably better, but intrigued to your perspective in the comments below. But Skyz was talking with Scump here and making it pretty clear that he has plenty of plans to help the team get back to the top if and when it is necessary. So we talked earlier today a bit about the vibes with Kenny clearly weren't going to be great. I think that's frankly inevitable when the team was struggling as they were. But Skyz definitely has some plans to get these guys back to the top.
But yeah, I feel like from the little depths of hell that they were in, like, I don't want them to have like even like an inch of that. Like, I just want them to always like be happy and shit. That's why I love doing my team. Like, I hate seeing like that sadness and just.
You do bring vibes.
Yeah, I do.
If there's one thing Gwinn is bringing, he's bringing.
Bro, if people are tweaking, I'm taking off my shirt and I'm screaming.
Okay.
And then, like, I mean, that's what I did with my past teams. Like, they just laugh. They look at my dog like, holy fuck.
You got your shirt off scrimming?
Yeah, I've done it in the office in New York. Yeah. They slapped my belly, bro.
You had Paco slapping
Yeah, he
your
said,
belly?
like, here, come here, big dude. He just
If I looked over and saw Plato's nipples, I'd lose it.
I don't see AG or Ant coming over slapping your belly, but
I'll make them.
you'll make them?
Paco is, come on, bro. You know Paco. He's like a little shy bird. And he slaps my belly now. It took a year, but he started.
Okay, Quino's bringing the vibes, slapping the belly, slapping the bait. So you've been in a
Still some talk last night about whether this was the right time to make the move. I think there is a good argument to say that had they just gone to the major, got top 12 and then changed, then people would have said, well, you should have changed earlier. So people are still going to say that now, and I think that's also a fair take at the present day, that they probably should have changed earlier anyway. But if you are going to decide to change, then probably you do it now. It's just I was always wondering for the last couple of weeks whether that ring ceremony was in their mind at all. Doesn't really seem like it was based on this change, or even if it was, let's say, overruled by the fact that Kenny was dropping .3s against Thieves, a team that they were beating a couple of months ago in that Game 5 round 11 Hacienda, and Scrap had a 6-kill map on the first map, right? Like, times certainly changed since then. Thought this is interesting. These are your favourites for the tournament. So, Falcons, 1,001 to 1. So, yeah, good luck with that. OpTic are at 26 to 1. You've got Cloud9, Ravens. I mean, it's interesting, right? So, FaZe and Thieves are by far the two favourites. Kind of difficult to split between them. After that, Surge are considered the next likeliest team to win, because, you know, they've actually shown capability to beat FaZe a couple of times in recent times, but that delivery on LAN is going to be a question mark. Toronto at 15 is interesting, just because we know the potential in there, but it's not like they've really shown it all that much as of late. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Wait, you asked me a question, I'm gonna answer it.
Rather Simp or Scump? Allie, you get to go first.
Simp. Sorry, Scump. Well, in what context?
You just
what,
did it.
Do we have any context?
Moving on.
We have no. I did it. All right, I picked.
Nameless.
I would probably go Simp, yeah. This
Simp or Scump?
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Both. Moving
just like
on.
setting us up with these questions.
Say I need like the
Hard
context.
point or search.
Thank you, Riley, for showing us that.
Yeah, Riley, glad we
Appreciate it.
backed out of this to try to ruin someone's day. A man who does nothing but try to provide us with positive vibes and give back to the community in which
Oh, wait, no. 7
he's
across
helped
is not
build.
clutch,
Yeah.
because 5 down is
I'm
yen.
glad you could do that for us.